Just knowing this now. Oh yeah. Oh my God! Why would you tell me this? I don't like to drink. I don't like to find viruses. I don't like that shit. It's nasty. It's nasty. Thank you. Yeah. So you don't remember anything?
What is that?
Is he drunk? He did. He called me. For some reason, how he got my number. He called me. And I'm like, who is this? And I'm like, it's Jonathan.
You know what?
And he's like, your brother. I'm like, oh yeah.
I just don't walk back to it.
He's like, oh, I went to that party. I'm like, I was like, I have a he's like, oh, because I wanted you to go to like NYC. So he went to me. You guys can eat oh my God, I'm not surprised. Today you're going to like second stage. So tonight you're gonna have I'm telling you it's right.
I didn't take the hurdles.
Is this like a house party?
There he is.
Okay, in your seats real quick, guys. Let me take roll.
There you go. So we do what?
Y'all have some small things in here. That's
Oh, look at that. So bad. It's so bad. Real change.
Chris.
Brianna, is that your time to call us? Like all the way
Okay,
up?
let me take a roll. Did everybody grab a Chapter 13 test review, a Chapter 15 notes, and a population ecology graph? Okay, you need all those three. Go.
Did you say
Second part I posted.
You were kind of, you don't remember every more stuff on
You saw it?
I saw you on TV.
Chris, let me get you back there for now.
I took a picture of you.
Oh, Jesus. Go in the back for right now. Do me a favor, take everything out of those plastic bins, okay, and then put them over there, and I'll tell you what to do with them next. Yeah, let me take roll real quick.
What am I supposed to?
Who's absent? Yeah, put away your cell phones, please. Put away your cell phones. Lucas. Put away your cell phones, everybody. Put them all away. Somebody tell Ezio to take his headphones out of his ears. Somebody tell Ezio to take his headphones out of his ears. Leja. Lucas. Is Joe here? Najee. Najee's not here?
No.
Sam?
No, she'll be here.
Sam not here?
you're right.
Oh, there you are. If you want to see the cat, you're going to have to come back here.
No. Mr. Barry, I want to see
Hello? Guys, don't touch that. Guys, how am I supposed to access the cat?
We left like a whole ring right now.
Wait, do I have to watch this?
I think we're about to Okay, listen up. I have 3 rolls. Rule number 1. If you guys make, if I'm trying, like, the only reason why I'm taking this out is for educational purposes only, not for someone's sick, twisted entertainment. Secondly,
Your baby can't see this.
if there is so much talking that I can't give out information about the anatomy of the cat, then I'll put it away because it's no longer an educational experience, and it's now just kind of a waste of everyone's time because everybody's like, and then like nothing is learned, and it's just a bunch of immaturity and juvenile behavior, and I don't have time for that. Okay, guys. Secondly, okay, so I only have it out as long as I'm talking, and obviously I'm going to have some comments. I mean, the questions are nice as long as they're not completely ridiculous. Secondly, I don't mind you guys taking pictures of the cat, right? As long as it's not, as long as you enforce digital citizenship. So think about this. Okay, you guys have to understand, PETA will write, I've gotten letters from PETA every year that I've ever dissected cat. I mean, I got a staff like this. They hate me, right? They hate any biology teacher that uses live specimens, okay? based on where they come from and the fact that they're purchasing live specimens and then they're dissecting them and they think it's cruel and unusual treatment of animals, blah, blah, blah. There is no shortage of people that would love to use any sort of information, whether it's pictures that are posted, to discredit me, this class, and this school. Okay? Which is a headache and lawsuits that I don't need. Okay? So we treat this experience, we treat this animal with ethical respect because obviously, you know, it was once a living thing and we're using it for educational purposes. Not to have like selfies with you holding your intestines, which I have had surface on the internet by my students. So now if you choose to do something stupid like that, there is 30 witnesses that were here that heard Mr. Vieira say, don't do that. Okay? And it's on camera. I don't know if that thing's filming or whatever. But anyway, so last, if you don't, no one's forcing you to sit here and like learn the anatomy of a cat. If you're, I've never had a single solitary student throw up or whatever, but if you need to step outside and whatever, then fine, do so. Because this is only going to last about 5 to 10 minutes.
Is it
So,
like dehydrated or?
so now I have,
Hell no. I'm sorry.
I have already dissected this cat starting second period. So let me explain what's going on. All right, so now this cat.
What do you think?
Where did they get the cats from?
They buy them from county, like pounds that euthanize them.
It looks like hummus.
Okay, now this is what the cat looked like.
What? Did you get that in?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how it starts. So, I make this mid-sagittal dissect the cut, and then I open up. There's 2 cavities that we have in our body. An abdominal cavity, right, which is not protected by our rib cage, and we have a thoracic cavity, which is protected by our rib cage. Inside of the thoracic cavity, since you have a rib cage here, are going to be some organs that are really important, like the heart. When I opened it up, there was this fatty kind of membranous tissue that kind of wrapped around the intestines. This is called the omentum. I kind of pulled that off. Anytime you see these red little stringy things, and they're sometimes blue, those are arteries and veins, actual arteries and veins. The reason why you see blue and the reason why you see red is not because it's blue and red in the body, it's because they drained the blood of the cat, and what they did is they injected a dye, a specific type of material that is liquid at first and then solidifies into this rubbery-like material. So on one side of the heart that receives blood from the veins, they injected a blue dye, and so wherever it's blue, you'll see that's where a vein is. And a vein is some sort of blood vessel that brings blood back to the heart. So on the other side of the heart, the left side of the heart, in the left ventricle, they injected a red dye. And so it left the left side of the heart, which is now blood is going to leave out the aorta and go to the body. And so you'll see anything that's red, that's an artery, anything that's blue, that's a vein. Not because that's what color it is in the body. So you can see right here, what's this?
It's an artery.
No,
Vein.
it's a vein, right, because it's blue. And so what we did is this thing was wrapped in a sac. This is the heart. This is the heart. It was wrapped in a sac. I detached it from the main vessels of the body, which was the aorta and the superior vena cava, and then the vessels that are coming back from the lungs. You see, the heart has 2 sides. If you open it up like this, like a book, this is the front of the heart right here. Right? This is the front of the heart. So it actually was in the cat like this. And I sliced it and I removed all the stuff, not all of the stuff, because there's still some stuff right here. And you'll notice it has 4 chambers. Oh, well, it's not very distinct, but it has 2 chambers on the top called the atrium. Okay, so it has like this is the right side of the heart, like my right. So it has the right atrium. This receives blood that comes back from the body already like used up with oxygen. And so it comes into the right side of the heart from the vena cava. The superior comes from the head, and the inferior comes from the bottom. And then it gets pumped down. And notice this is blue, right? Because it's deoxygenated. And then it pumps down into this little chamber called the ventricles. And then the bottom part of the heart squeezes, and it pumps blood out of the right side of the heart. Where do you think it goes from the right side of the heart? It doesn't go to the left side of the heart. It goes, because this has no oxygen. Where do you think it needs to go? To the lungs. So it actually comes out an artery called the pulmonary artery. Okay? And so it goes out the pulmonary artery, and it goes and branches to the left and right lungs. So the heart was right here. It was resting right in here in this chest cavity, like this, just like that. Okay? And there was a sac that I had pulled off of it. Okay? And so here it branches off. Now a cat has 7 lobes of their lungs. It has the anterior lungs, it has the anterior lobes, medial lobes, the posterior lobes, and then it has this kind of mediastinal lobe or the accessory lobe. Now, we have 5 lobes to our lung. Okay, 3 on the right and 2 on the left. We have 2 on the left and not 3 because it needs to make room for our heart, because our heart's slightly more to the left side of our chest than it is to the right. But it's still more in the middle than anything. So what you'll see is blood now goes to the lungs, sucks up oxygen, dumps out carbon dioxide in the little blood vessels that are in the lungs, and then that fills up into the open cavities in the lungs. And then the oxygenated blood returns back to the heart. Now it's on the left side. So now we have red. This is going to be on the left side of the heart. I yanked out all the red stuff. But it comes back into the left atrium and goes from the top part to the bottom part. And from the bottom part, the left ventricle, it pumps out into the body through the main artery called the aorta. And this is the aorta right here. It's got a bunch of red stuff in it. And the aorta kind of branches down and goes all the way down to the body and then gives blood to all the different organs and tissues. And it also branches up and goes and branches up and gives good blood to the neck and to the arms and to the brain as well. And the 2 arteries that supply the brain and the head with blood are called the carotid arteries. Now the heart also gives itself blood through arteries called the coronary arteries. Okay, so what we see here, when I cut open this neck, the first thing that I see is this tube right here. And if you feel your neck, you'll notice that it has kind of bumps in it, kind of ridges. So if you actually like kind of move up and down your neck, you'll notice that it's kind of bumpy. And when you can see here, if you kind of see as I digest it, this thing kind of looks like a vacuum cleaner tube. Everybody see that? Everybody have a vacuum that kind of has those little bumps and ridges to it?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's these cartilage rings, these cartilaginous rings that kind of go throughout the length of this pipe, which is called the what? This is where air. The larynx is at the very top, so you're very close. The larynx is the top part of this tube, where the vocal cords are. The vocal cords are in here, actually sliced it. The larynx is the very top, right here. That's the larynx. So the larynx is attached to this tube. And you can see some of these arteries and veins, guys. This would be like the jugular vein. So what is this? Esophagus is where food goes. This is where wind goes. This is where air goes. This is the windpipe. But what's the actual name for windpipe? So it's with a T. The trachea, right? This is your trachea. If your trachea, now it goes behind. So this is.
How does it not like snow?
Say that again.
How does it not smell like right?
Doesn't it smell like
Because it has preservation. You see that rubber stuff that they added to the arteries?
Yeah, like
That's why it's so. But the arteries and veins themselves all do have elastic tissue, and so they are kind of stretchy themselves, so that they don't just rupture anytime your blood pressure changes. But you'll notice I removed the heart, so. But you can see that tube right here, guys, goes all the way down, right? And then it comes down right here, and then it branches out into the lungs. So these are called the bronchial tubes, where it branches to the left and to the right. And that's where we talk about bronchitis and things like that. Now, behind the trachea, right? Behind the trachea is another tube, right? And what do you think that tube is? It's right here. It's that tube. That's your esophagus. So behind your trachea, towards your back, posterior, that's where the food is. Now, in the very, very top, there's a flap that covers the opening of the trachea, so that when we swallow, since there's one opening that goes into both the trachea and the esophagus, and that's your throat, right? Now, in the front, there's an opening for the trachea, and in the back, there's an opening for the esophagus. So when I swallow food, there's a flap that covers the trachea, so that food doesn't go into my windpipe. That's called the epiglottis. There's a little flap that covers that. And so if you look, the trachea is dead ends here. But behind that, that esophagus, this tube right here, continues to go behind the lungs through this muscle sheet right here. This thin sheet of muscle, which is attached to the walls of the thoracic cavity, when this guy contracts, this muscle, the sheet of muscle that runs across the cat's body like this, it causes the rib cage to do this. Open up. And when you open up the rib cage, and the lungs are kind of attached to the rib cage, what that does is it drops the pressure inside of the thoracic cavity, and air will rush into the lungs. When you relax, the lungs go back to normal, and the pressure the pressure increases inside of the lungs, and air will leave. So it's really about changing the size of your lungs. Because when you open up the space in which air can be in, the air can spread out and the pressure drops. And now the pressure at the outside of your body, guys, get out of my chair. I don't want anybody sitting in my chair. Now the pressure on the outside, the atmospheric pressure, is greater than the inside of your lungs, and so air rushes in. And then when you relax, you made the space inside of your lungs really small. And so the pressure of the gases inside here, they're bumping into each other, and the pressure's really high. Now it's greater on the inside of your lungs than the outside, and so the air leaves. So what is this? What is this thin muscle that allows us to breathe every time we contract, that separates the diaphragm? There you go. This is the diaphragm. So the diaphragm separates our thoracic cavity. So the esophagus continues and attaches to this. What is this that I cut open? That's the stomach. Now I cut open the stomach. I didn't want to cut open the stomach because this cat I knew was full. Yeah, this is just like, it's probably just cat food, guys. It's cat food. No, I mean, it's been digested with acid and enzymes, and it's been mixed with saliva, so it's just been digested. It hasn't been absorbed yet, it's been digested. So the top of this stomach right here, this sac that's kind of shaped like a kidney bean, is attached to the esophagus up here in the opening of the mouth. Now the end of the stomach is right here. Okay, and it's attached to the beginning of the large intestine, the small intestine. And so the very first couple centimeters of the small intestine is called the duodenum. Now this is where a lot of digestion, chemical digestion begins. So slowly but surely, this is a little sphincter muscle called the pylorus. Guys, if you're going to have a conversation, have it later. You're going to have a pyloric sphincter right here that closes off, and every now and then it'll open and release food. The stomach has muscles that kind of push food into the small intestine. Now what is this right here? That's the liver. Now the liver has a little sac inside of here called the gallbladder. It's right here. And inside of this whole sac is bile. Now the liver produces bile and stores it in here. And the bile is like Dawn dishwashing detergent, that it helps break down fats. And so there's these little tubes that are connected into the small intestine called ducts. And so we have the bile duct, we have the hepatic duct, which is connecting stuff that the liver makes into this tube. Now this little organ right here that looks kind of like chewed up gum, that's the cat's pancreas. Now the pancreas has two main functions. It produces insulin and glucagon, which help regulate blood sugar levels, but it also produces a lot of enzyme juices called pancreatic juice, and it's connected to the small intestine too. So there's a lot of fluids and juices being injected into the small intestine that help mix with that and help break it up even further. So this, which we call chyme, which is pretty much digested food, is moving throughout the small intestine. Right? The small intestine is long because it's like a conveyor belt where as the food moves down, we're picking and absorbing all the nutrients, right? And when the conveyor belt finally gets to the very end, anything that's left behind is the food that didn't get digested and the nutrients weren't absorbed. And you can see all of these arteries. You see that? So all these arteries are attached to the small intestine because it's supplying it with blood, and it's draining that blood because that's where all the nutrients have to get absorbed in. So you have a lot of blood being sent and drained from your intestines. So if you ever got shot in the stomach, right here, you would bleed a lot because there's a lot of vascular tissue amongst this. The human small intestine is about 15 feet long. So in proportion to our body, a cat's, this intestine is, nearly twice as long as the length of its body, right? Now, obviously, it curls up so it can fit in there. We need as much surface area as possible so that it can absorb as much nutrients as possible. Now, here's the dead end of the small intestine. And now we're at the what? Large intestine. If this had an appendix, per se, it would be right here, dangling off of the large intestine. So our absorption, for the most part, of nutrients is pretty much ended. Whatever's left over in this cat is just undigested food waste. But in the large intestine, one of the main functions of the large intestine, although it does absorb certain ions here, it pretty much sucks up all the water that's left over in our food. And so it dries out the leftover food so that when the poop comes out, it's all packaged and then we remove the water. If there's something wrong with the large intestine and it's not reabsorbing the water, that's when you have like diarrhea, right? Because the stuff just moves through and this thing never sucked out the water. Yeah?
Do animals not have appendixes?
It depends on what an appendix is. What's called like an extension of the cecum,
Yeah.
and depending on the animal, it might have actually a larger cecum because of its function. Like rabbits would have this really long one because it eats mainly foliage. Now we have it's vestigial because we've evolved to no longer use that part of the large intestine to store and kind of break down rough cellulose types of foods. So now this large intestine goes all the way out through the anus, right? And there's a little storage portion that would be the rectum. So there's your digestive tract. Okay, so you got your stomach, you got your pancreas. Now there's this one red organ left over. What do you think this is? Now this is the liver, right? This is the liver right here. It filters blood and breaks down toxins. And then there's this guy. Well, it's not the lungs. The lungs are up here. This is the liver. The kidneys are these two guys on the side, one of which I've already taken out. The kidneys are towards the back. If you wanted to take somebody's kidneys out, you wouldn't go through their stomach, you'd go through their back. Okay, so when a boxer punches somebody and they're punching them back here, those are called kidney shots. So the quickest way to access the kidney is right here, through the back. Because it's all the way, look at the cat. This is where the kidney is. So look, that's where the kidney is. I'm touching the kidney. I would have to go through a lot if I put one through its abdominal cavity to access the kidneys. So we have two kidneys, right, on either side. The colon is another name for the large intestine. So the large intestine that I had, that's the colon. So your kidneys are in the back. The kidneys are part of a filter system. Look, there's a sac, a membranous sac around the kidney. I removed it, and look at the kidney. You can see the blue dye and how it kind of branches off. Because blood, as the aorta comes down, we have what's called the renal artery. And blood goes to the kidneys, both of them branches off. And this is where all of our metabolic wastes get filtered. You see, poop never got into our body. It never was into our body. A lot of people think that like fecal matter is waste. Well, it's really not as much waste as what we didn't really need, what we never got into our body. It's undigested food is really what it is. Waste is something that I think of as what is produced when I do something. So in our body, we have metabolic processes that make waste. And we need to get that waste out of our cells, into our blood, and out of our body. And that's what kidneys do. Kidneys and the liver as well also breaks down things. So there's blood that goes through this. Think of this like an air filter. And so it's cleaning the air as it passes through it. This is like a blood filter, and it cleans the blood. If you open it up, the blood goes through there, and then there's a tube in the middle that drains all of the bad stuff, the metabolic wastes. And along with that, it takes out water. So this tube right here, see this tube right here? Connected? Is where urine is now being produced and collected. And that urine goes through this tube. This tube is called the ureter, right? And what do you think this is connected to? Bladder. And so this, and there's two of them, right? The same one on the other side. The bladder of the cat is right here. And so that's the bladder of the cat. Both of those ureters are connected to it. Now, this is a female cat, and this is its uterus right here. Reproductive system. Okay, so obviously it has a vagina, and then it comes and it's attached to a uterus right here. This is the uterus. Now the uterus, unique in that, it branches off from these two things called uteral horns. These uteral horns, at the very end, you have an ovary. And that ovary produces the eggs, and the eggs are released in here. Okay? And now in here, if it got, let's say there was sperm, it would start to swell up, and you would have the fetus, the growing cat. I do have a cat from my 5th grade class that has 2 little baby fetuses inside of the cat. So when I cut them open, I'll probably try and preserve those. If anybody wants to see what a growing fetus inside of a cat looks like, you can see that. Okay, so any questions on this cat? Yes?
You never said what that other piece. The bladder.
This is a spleen.
Oh.
This is filtered, this stores blood, and it actually recycles old blood parts. So that's your spleen. So any questions as to where what is in your body that you know where it is? Did I nail pretty much every major organ in the body that you would think of? There are also obviously glands, like the thyroid gland and the thymus gland. Glands are going to be really small and they're really hard to kind of see, but for the most part, those are what we call our major organs. And there's pretty much the digestive tract, you have your respiratory system here, your cardiovascular is the heart and all the blood vessels. Your urinary system are your kidneys, your ureter, and your bladder. There's obviously a tube that is connected from the bladder out of the body, that's your urethra, which is different than your ureters, which connect the kidneys. Guys, hey! Ladies, inside, you're being way too loud, and there's classes on the left and right of me. Come on inside. I have to be really loud, otherwise you can't hear me. Everybody in my class, come inside, please. Thank you. Please take your time. Everybody, inside. Close the door.
Spray some perfume.
Close the door. 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 Prop it open. Prop it open. Turn on the fan. Turn on the fan. Turn on the fan. Turn on the fan.
Okay.
Turn on the fan.
Swear.
Thank you. All right.
There's no.
Okay. The pancreas was that little chewed up piece of gum thing that was right here. Okay, so what I need is paper towels. I need somebody grab me a bunch of paper towels because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this guy and I'm going to spray it with that bottle right there. That BioShield. It's material that will watch out.
You need more?
Actually, I think I might have a number here.
Mr. Vera,
Yeah.
this is that one or this one? This
The
one?
BioShield one, yeah. Okay, guys, you can start working your way back to your seats. It's never that bad, guys. It's only as bad as you make it. If you feed into it, it becomes a problem. If you just, not really a big issue. Begin. Your cough sounds really bad. And you need to go to the nurse. Fill yourself out a pass that says everything with my name, my period, the time,
Where's the plug?
and then I'll sign it. Say to the nurse. Just fill one out, like write it on a piece of paper. Here, I think I might have some in mine.
I'd love to see him.
Did you turn it on?
No, Albert Einstein.
Oh, Mr. Vera.
Here, let's just turn on these on the back. That's fine.
Alright, so where to go?
It sounds like you are completely fine to me, but that's just me.
No, I can't, like, my ears are
Dead kitty.
my
Okay.
Well,
All right, take out. Are we done with chapter 14 notes with you guys?
yeah, no.
Who loves taking notes in this class? Okay, guys. Just put the phone right here on top of my desk. Just sit right on top of my desk. Just sit right on top of my desk. Yeah, you get back to the other chair. Sit right on top of my desk. Yes. Some more what?
Yeah, water.
Some water? Yeah, I heard it. Talking about period 15 or 15?
I don't have it.
We finished this already, right? Fill this all out. The destination's going to be nice. Go ahead. Fill it all out and I'll sign it. We're here, right? Right here? Did we do this already? We're right. There?
We're at B. We're at
Hold on. You guys here? Here? Here?
Yeah, there. C, yeah.
Your guys are here? How'd you guys get so behind? Okay, guys, it's very simple. Individuals that are going to interrupt me while we're doing this are going to make this longer for the rest of you. So it is of your specific interest to tell them to be quiet, at least for the time that I'll get through this. You guys are behind the other classes. Okay? You guys are going to have one of these graphs. Okay, guys, the PowerPoint's online. I cannot go backwards. I must go forward. Okay, I cannot go backwards. A type 1 individual is like us. We invest lots of times into our babies, and we have very few of them. By 50% of our lifespan, this is a percentage. This is not 50 years. Because if I was a rat and my average lifespan was 3 years, 100% of my lifespan is 3 years. And 50% would be like a year and a half. Fill out all of this. Fill it all out. Right? Like time arrived, like time left. All right. Ah! Why are you doing this? There we go. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. Better. A type 3 is going to be somebody who has tons of babies. Most of them are dead by the time they're 20% of their lifespan. So they die young and in great numbers. These guys, they don't die until they're old. So most individuals live most of their life. These few individuals will survive. These guys have an average death rate no matter what part of their life there is. So an example. A human is a type 1. Few babies, lots of love. Right? A mussel, a clam, that produces thousands of offspring. And most of them die right away because they get eaten up or they don't survive or they get killed by a predator or they get left out to die. So they're banking on the fact that we should have lots of babies because most are going to die. And these guys are banking on, we only need to have 1 or 2 because we're going to pay attention to them a lot. Now anything that has 5, 6, 7, 8 birds or squirrels or rodents that have litters, you know, they can't pay attention to them all, but at least they're not having hundreds of them. So there's a pretty equal chance that that organism is going to die at any point in its life. Birds are another example of a type 2. A dandelion produces hundreds of seeds, and most of them will not survive. So most trees are type 3. So every acorn that's produced, right, most will not survive. And so how do we calculate population density? Remember that. That's number of individuals over area. 3 types. We have clumped. We have uniform. And what's the third one? The survivorship curve shows the percent survivors, right, over the percent of their lifespan, okay? And the 3 types are type 1, which is us, type 2, which would be like birds, and type 3 would be like fish or any organism that produces lots of offspring. You guys are going to have these graphs on your test. These graphs are tracking population sizes of specific organisms. When you have a prey and predator population graph, you guys already did that worksheet that had the, you had to do the deer population, right? Wolf population? As the moose go up, the wolves go up because there's lots of food. As the wolves go up, they're eating the moose, and the moose go down. When the moose go down, no more food for the wolves go down. When the wolves go down, not eating the moose go up. As the moose go up, the wolves go up. When the wolves go up, the moose go... Do you get what I'm saying? There are 4 factors that affect the population size. Okay, the size. Things that add to a population. Okay? Immigration has an I. Think of it as things moving into a population. All right, so here's my population. We can add to this population by moving in, or the population. What's one other thing that I can make this population get bigger? Besides immigration. What can make this population of organisms get larger? No. Yeah, put it on side. Thank you. Births. Right. Births So we have, if you want to talk about population change, what makes it larger is births plus immigration. And so what would make it smaller? And we have death plus, with an E, emigration, which we'll see on the next slide. Okay, so emigration, think of that E right here, guys. That's how I think of emigration. My parents emigrated out of Portugal and they immigrated into the United States. So we're going to be looking at population growth. This type of curve that's slow at first and shoots up, that's a specific type, obviously deaths, right? That's a specific type of population graph that you guys need to be familiar with. There are two types. Type 1 is exponential. Exponential has slow growth at first and fast growth at the end. This is if there was nothing limiting the growth. This is if you had all the food in the world, no predators, and plenty of space. No disease. You're just, hey bunnies, here's a bunch of food, have as much sex as you possibly can. And when your children are born, they can have as much sex as they possibly can. I'll continue to provide you with food. I'll make sure that nothing that is going to come in and eat you. And I'll make sure that you have plenty of space. And there's no diseases that are going to come in. You will see a growth that is slow at first and then whoop, shoots up. You see this with bacteria. But we all know that that's not how it works in the real world. Because there is competition for resources. And there are predators. And there is disease. And there are limiting factors like weather, and drought, and pollution that will cause exponential at first and then whoop, it plateaus off. The maximum level that a population can grow, not its peak. See how it shot up at first and then like, whoa, not enough food, and then they died off and then kind of leveled off? That is called the carrying capacity. That's the highest amount a habitat can carry. You guys remember the lab we did, right? With the paramecium, these guys? Remember these guys?
Yeah.
By themselves, they did this, whoop, and then balanced off. You guys remember your data table? But when you put two of them together, one of them did this and the other one did this, right? Remember that? What's up with this guy right here? Why couldn't he reach carrying capacity? If this was species A and this was species B, why did species B die off, class? So what do we call that word where they both have to try to go after the same resource?
Competition.
It's called, yeah, competition. Competitive exclusion is what we were thinking of. There, oops. Well, I misspelled that. Competition. Well, actually, you know what? Here, watch. Things that will cause a population crash. Things that will cause a population crash, competition, limitations of resources. Sometimes you have it very sudden. Overgrazing of the deer, remember, caused the population crash? Okay, so what would cause, why can't we always have this? Okay, exponential. Why do we always have this? Logistical. Now remember, guys, let me go back real quick. Exponential growth, right, is the first kind. The second kind is logistical growth. Logistic. This is all logistic growth because that's what's logical if you think about it. Yes?
Limited resources.
Yeah, so let's talk about the different types of categories that we have. Like I said before, right here, sorry. This right here, right? Because they're competing. That's the first part. Competition. It has to do with being density dependent. There's two categories. Density dependent and density independent. Now density dependent means the more there are, the higher this becomes an issue. This is not just for food. This could be for space, mates, right? Water. You're competing for lots of things. Predation. The more okay, if this is a population and I'm a predator, I'm like, not a lot of food. Now, if we start getting more and more and more and more and more density, then we're going to have a lot of predators come here. Okay, so what we see here, guys, is as the hair goes up, so do the lynx. And then they eat them and they drop down. And so do the lynx because there's not enough food. So if you notice that this perfectly is in balance, this predator versus prey graph. And lastly, remember the cordyceps nemesis? This is the fungus, right? The fungus is here. This is the fungus. This is the host, the insect. Now each fungus is unique to a specific species of insect. Now, if I'm an insect population, and this guy gets infected right here, and this thing bursts a bunch of spores, they're going to land on any guy that's around them. So the more dense that the population is, the bigger chance that this parasite can spread. So you see dense populations, parasitomus disease is a much bigger factor in regulating that population. Now we're moving on to density independent factors. Density independent doesn't matter if there's a lot of them or there's a little of them. Unusual weather is going to impact everybody in the region where there's unusual weather. Whether it's like raining a lot or it's a drought, okay, if you have high winds or lots of snow over long periods of time, this is going to affect all populations regardless of their density. Natural disasters. Volcanoes. Oops, sorry. Volcanoes, tsunamis, tornadoes, hurricanes. How is that different than weather? You can kind of predict them, right? A little bit. But they're not like something that happens all the time. Weather is something that's over long periods of time. It's the climate is accumulation of every day's worth of weather. These are more like one-time events. They may occur over multiple days, but for the most part, they happen sporadically. Okay? A drought is unusual weather. A volcanic eruption, that's a natural disaster. And they're going to affect high density or low density populations. And then finally, us. Our activities are going to destroy habitats. They're going to affect high density or low density the same. So, let's look at these. I'm going to give you guys these graphs, and I'm going to ask you to tell me which one has high growth, right, or rapid, fast growth, which one has slow growth, and which one has either zero or a decrease. Now, look at this. This tells me the age, and this tells me the percentage. So in Kenya, about 16% of the population, 8% females, 8% males, are between 0 and 4 years old. So that bar represents about 16%. This is like another 16% or 15%. So 32%, give or take, is under the age of 9, right? So we have less than 9 years old. Let's look at United States. Okay, same condition, right? But now we have about, I don't know, what do you think? About 7%? Or between 0 and 4 plus another 7%. So we have about 14% are under the age of 9. Right? And look at Italy. Holy crap. So we got about 4.5% here maybe, and about 4% here, about 8.5% maybe, or less than 9. So, Kenya, young or old population?
Young.
Look at how many old people there are. Barely anything. Now, Italy, young or old population? Old. United States kind of divvied up. Most people are middle-aged, working. I don't know why the females in Italy outlive the males, man. They're just getting killed in their sleep or something. Must be all that, you know, whatever it is. Something's good. The women, ladies, move to Italy if you want to live a long life. Now, what does this tell us? Look at this. Let's go to the world population. In the year 2015, this year, we have about 7.3 billion people. Everybody see that graph? Is there more young people or old people in the world? More young. So that tells us that, are we still growing as a population? The wider your population pyramid, the more young people there are, the faster your population will grow. Because young people have babies, right? If those young people are not replacing themselves, what's going to happen to the base of the pyramid? It's going to shrink. Like, if there's an average of like 1.5 kids for every couple, that means you're not even replacing yourself. If you got a married couple and they have one kid, they didn't even replace the other parent. So that population would get smaller over time. Italy has like an average birth rate of like 1.7 or 1.8 children per couple. That is a description of a shrinking population. Let's go to Italy. Okay, 61 million people. Guys, see how narrow it is down here? See how much larger it is down here? Let's predict. Let's go to 2045. Let's jump ahead 30 years. Class, for those two of you that are sleeping, raise your hand. Give me a prediction. What's going to happen to this population right here?
There'll be more old
Who,
people.
raise your hand, right? Because I can't decipher 17 people. Samantha. No, the number. This number. What's going to happen to this number? It's going to go lower. Anybody think anything else? Yes.
It'll
Huh?
grow.
Grow by what? Double? 1 million?
Probably double, yeah.
Double? Okay. So we have Samantha who says that 61 million is going to get smaller based on the shape of that curve. Okay, we have David who says it's going to double. It's going to get twice as big. You guys ready? Those are called hypotheses, right? It got small because remember, guys, this is rapid growth. This is slow growth. If the base is really narrow, you got 0 or low growth. There's no young people to have sex and replace, right? Just a bunch of old people dying in their rocking chairs. So let's go back to another country. Congo. Uganda. Zimbabwe. Nigeria. Where are these countries? These are young countries. What does this tell us about the growth of these countries? Now, let's do a prediction, guys. 2015 Nigeria, 183 million people. That's a lot of people. 2045. Let's go ahead. 30 years. What do we think? What's up? 195. Anybody else?
212.
Huh?
212.
212. Rigoberto, give me a guess.
I'll say, like
210. Let's go. Let's figure it out. Bam! Now look at this graph over here. This is showing us the population growth over time. I just jumped ahead to 245, right? Let's say 294, 380. But look, 2100, we're talking about 913 million people. Unless what happens to this curve?
There's like a disease that takes more out.
Disease,
Natural disaster.
natural disaster, what else? What are the three limiting factors that have to do with the fact that there's too many people?
Unusual
Competition.
weather.
You said disease.
Wait.
Disease, guys, Ebola is an example of these populations limiting growth because they're so compacted in density that it's easy to transmit those diseases. Obviously, they got that under control, but that is an example of a limiting factor that is density dependent, Ebola. But also predation. Do people really eat humans? No. Zimbabwe, 15 million, guys. Let's make a guess. 2045, what do we think?
It'll be like 120. Yeah, 'cause there's a lot of Middle East people.
I was going to say 25.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Congo, 4 million. What do we think, guys?
14. No.
18 million.
More than double. Okay, let's check the United States. What do we expect the shape to look like? Wider in the middle. And I like how David, he's doing this. You expect it to look like what? Like,
Like a land. Oh, like a vase.
320. Did everybody know there was 325 million people in the United States? Probably more than that.
I do now.
There's over 300 million people in this country. What's the most populated country? Not the most densely populated. We know that the most densely populated is what?
China.
Morocco. Morocco. I don't think they have Morocco. No, Morocco? No.
Right.
Oh, Monaco, yeah. What? Did I say Morocco? Morocco's, no. Morocco's in Asia, not in France. I mean, Africa, sorry. Morocco is definitely not Monaco, which is a tiny little country in the south of
city
France.
in France, right?
Yeah, Monaco is.
Spell that wrong.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Guys, my spelling is atrocious. Monaco. Monaco's right here. Look, south of France. Morocco is in Africa. And Mongolia is in Asia.
Isn't
I always-
like the least populated?
Where'd it go? Mongolia right here, right? Mongolia, Monaco, Morocco. Mr. Vieira sometimes gets those confused. 3 completely different continents, right? So, here's something I found interesting. Hey guys, now guys, I'm going to show you 3 other countries.
And you guys see movie cars?
I want you to look at the data. I want you to analyze the graph. Ready? You ready for the next country?
It's the land thingy from the GD thing.
Yeah, but look at what this data is telling you.
Far back.
Well, I got 2 more countries I'll give you.
That they're killing them.
Okay,
Okay, hold on. Guys, right now, all you need to be doing is gathering information in your brain and starting to form hypotheses and inferences, right? Now I'm going to give you another one. Qatar. You have a question? Yes. The reason why it's so off the graph is because it's even more than 8%. This graph is not, it stops at 8%. It'll probably be like 9, 10, 11%. Yeah.
If there's like an equal amount of male and female bidding, that's more like women die of
No, guys, these
Or
graphs,
some are just showing
great
up
question.
everywhere.
These graphs are a snapshot. What this tells me is in this country right now, an overwhelming percentage of the population, it looks to be like working age males. Are there working age females? Yes, but they represent a much smaller and ridiculously disproportionate to the working age males. Like 3 or 4 to 1. Now one more. Not as pronounced. Now let's find out where these countries are. And let's okay, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Kuwait. I select Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, or UAE. That's where Dubai is. Now, you see where they are. What are some hypotheses as to why these regions of the world might have a predominantly male population? Yes?
because they strive to have male children, so they either sexually determine the babies and abort them, or they kill them. They kill the female baby from their core because they don't want to raise a daughter.
That would be a hypothesis. I will tell you right now that that is not the case. Because abortion is extremely against their culture.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm glad that you brought that up. Because you think of like, well, I know that, you know, in specific cultures that there is definitely a difference between the way they treat their women versus the way they treat their men. There's a difference in that. So that would be a speculation. You would have a hypothesis. And the data may, you know, shows that there is a difference. Now you would have to go out and see if that's the case. I'll tell you right now that is not the case. But that would be somebody's idea. Maybe that's why it is, right? What else?
Kind of similar to that, but like religion and like the way that they like, because like the reason why they would treat like females like less better than males is also because of like religion.
Okay, so, but how does that mean that there are less females there? You know, you can have a man and a woman, and I can treat this person differently than this person, but that still means that there's one man and one woman. See, the data doesn't tell me how these people are being treated. It tells me that there are physically more of these individuals in these regions.
Does it mean the females are just leaving?
So you're thinking that they're just like, screw this place, I'm out. That is a hypothesis. Yes, what else?
Because like the women are more valued there, like they're not allowed to show their skin most of the time because of their religion. Stuff like
Okay,
that.
so there's,
What does it have to
so
do?
how does that lead to less of them? Yeah. I'm good. So they're covering their, you know, because of, you know, specific. Now, depending on the regions, now they're all, not every single country and every different region has exactly the same. But I'm trying to, yeah, hold on.
Maybe it's like harder for women to survive in these countries, and it's easier for men. Like maybe they're not allowed to get like a certain education, which makes it harder for them to get jobs.
So they are dying or leaving? Because there's only two things that would cause a population to decrease. They're like, I can't get a job, I can't eat today, so I'm going to die. I couldn't make it past 30, or is it like, oh, once again, man, I can't get a job, I'm out of here. Right? Because remember, these things have to leave the population. And there's only two things that will drop the population of a specific thing. Death, and what else? Immigration. Peace, I'm out. What would cause an increase? Births, and what else? Immigration. So think about that, yes.
Oh, I was gonna say like they could
Oh, see, third world country? Have you ever been to UAE?
No.
Kuwait?
Oh,
Qatar?
actually really nice.
Bahrainians? Guys, what is that portion of the world
The most
are
economically
geographically known to have a lot of?
Oil.
Bugattis. Yeah, they'll
Probably. You guys, those
Oh,
countries,
look it up. They have like nice cars over there. They're so rich.
you guys, these countries right here, these Middle Eastern coastal countries, they're very oil rich.
Oh, Dubai is
Okay. Yeah. And a lot of the oil from these countries, the profits of those oils, right, it goes to the people from those countries. And a lot of these places, guys, when you're born in Bahrain, if you're Bahrainian, you are born wealthy, right? These people, there's so much money, and for a small population, right, that this money goes to construction of infrastructure. There's constant construction in these places, constantly building, growing, jobs. But if I'm already born rich, you think I'm going to pick up a hammer and build all these things? If I'm Bahrainian? No. We're going to import our workforce. There is a huge amount of migrant workers that live in these countries. Now, if there's a huge infrastructure, we're building these developing countries, developing in a way that is extremely rapid because of the oil money. What do you think the primary gender that is going to be moving in for these types of jobs? Male. So when you see that giant spike, you might think of there's more Bahrainians, okay, or there's more native-born individuals from Qatar. But it's actually not the case at all. Those people are from India, Philippines, okay, other places that have moved to those regions and are workers. And primarily those workers are of the male gender. But I think it's interesting that we all drew these different conclusions, right? My brother is in the Air Force, both my brothers, so I was asking him about this. He's like, no. And he goes, if you've ever been to Qatar, he goes, the reason why there's so many male, it's not, the natives, it's the workers that have migrated there to work. Because if you're from Qatar, I mean, your job is to go to the bank and collect a paycheck for the most part, right? For the most part. Because of the, you're born into wealth. Now, that being said, let's look at America. What's the problem here, guys? Back in the 1950s, okay, we were a relatively young country, right? We had a lot of workers. Look at the ratio of workers to retirees. Okay? This situation is how we wanted to set up Social Security. We're like, yeah, we can't have our old people on the streets, poor, broke. We're going to set up Social Security to where for every 10 workers, we can support one retiree. We have about 5% of the population 65 and over are retired. But look at all of our workers, right, that are underage of retirement, at least 15 years old. You can start working at 15. 60%. Man, that's like a 10-to-1 ratio. That's more than a 10-to-1 ratio of workers to individual retirees. Let's fast forward, 2007. This color right here, workers, 65%. We actually have a higher percentage of workers, but look. Okay, 20% are now retired. Why aren't these old people dying? They need to die younger, but they're not because we have medical advancements. They're living older, right? We're not replacing our young people like we used to in the past. So now let's look at the ratio, guys. 65 to 20%. Is that a 10-to-1 ratio? What's the ratio? Look like more. Let's do a little math. What's the ratio kind of like? Yeah. Let's go. Let's answer the ratio first, and then I'll answer your question. This is about 10-to-1. This is about what? A little more than 3-to-1. So for every 10 people that used to support one retiree, now we have about 3 people supporting. Looking at this population pyramid. Let's fast forward to predictions in 2050. When most of you guys, I don't know when you guys are retired. How old are you now? When are you going to retire? When you're 65? It'll be maybe after that. Now let's look at the ratio. 51 to 40. Whoa. We almost have a 1-to-1 ratio now. Is that going to be sustainable? That Social Security system, where you only have one person that's working, supporting one person that's retired. That means if I make $100 today, $50 I give to some retired dude. Hey Sam, here you go. here's your 50, and then I keep my 50 to live. Whereas before, if you had 10 people, right, everybody pitches in $5, right? Sam gets his 50. The rest of us can work with that, or even more. We can all pitch in $10. So Sam gets $100, and I still get to keep my 90, right? That's fine. I can live off that. But when it's 1-to-1, it's not going to sustain itself. And so this is one of the problems that we have. So what do we keep on doing? We keep on raising the retirement age. So this color is no longer that color anymore, right? So we have more workers and less retirees. So the ratio is getting back to this direction, where we have more people supporting the people that are retired. And so far, that's pretty much the only solution that we've been able to come up with, instead of having individual retirement accounts and things like that. That's come up, but we get these stats, right? This is actually from, look, this is the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. So we're using graphs and data that we'll find in ecology and using them for, public policies and things like that. All right, so take a second. You guys have your lab population ecology graphs, right? Take the first one. Take about 2 or 3 minutes. You and your partner are at your table. Look at the graph, read the graph, answer the 3 questions, and in about 3 to 4 minutes, I'm going to call on you, and we're going to go over questions 1. We're going to go to questions 2, questions 3, and questions 4. Guys, I apologize. On the graph that says predator-prey, the second line, the moose line, did not photocopy very well.
Yeah.
But if you look closely, take a pencil and outline it so you can see it a little bit better. It's there, but it's not very good. So I'll show you what it looks like, what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look like this. Okay? This graph right here that you guys have is very faint. Spend about 4 minutes right now, bam, doing questions 1 and answering, doing the first graph and answering all the questions. Talk to your neighbors. Yeah, you just do overall trends. It's a what? Okay, great. It means that guys, the way that we calculate rate, remember, look. Hey guys, look, this is very, 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 very important. The y-axis is irrelevant. I'm measuring something. It could be a number of deaths, number of births, number of farts per day. I don't care, right? It doesn't matter. This x-axis is time. This is time. Rate is rise over run. It's the slope of the line. If I fart 10 times in one day, look at the line. If I fart 2 times in one day, look at the line. This is the rate of farts per day. It could be deaths of chipmunks per day. 10 chipmunks die per day. 2 chipmunks die per day. Look at the rate. The slope of the line tells you the rate. So if we have a constant rate, the line of population growth, it stays the same. If we have a variable, at some points the line has one type of slope. At other points in time, the slope changes. So it's slow growth here, fast growth here, slow growth, steady growth, no growth. No growth would be like this. A decrease in growth would be like this. Right? An increase in growth would look like this. Okay? So look at your graphs. When they talk about the rate of growth, it's the slope of the line. What? Last 2 what? Oh. You guys are on video of me yelling at you when you were outside. You getting all
What is the video for?
angry. I just heard you guys outside from inside. I can only imagine what the next door class, who sometimes has their door open, could hear.
You're talking about how many times you farted a day. That's the thing.
This is farts per day.
That's what I'm saying.
It could be hiccups per day. It could
No,
be
that's the
anything.
thing. That's what you know.
Who's next door right now? Doesn't matter. Could be Miss Crumpton or Miss King, but we need to respect her class and not make it. really, it's all about me, right? I don't want you guys bringing the wrath on me. Because if I got my students out there causing havoc, and they go outside yelling at you guys, be like, what are you guys doing out there? And be like, Mr. B, just let us go out here because we're going to throw up all over the dead cat guts. And then I get yelled at.
Okay.
And I have a very low self-esteem. And I can't handle other teachers yelling at me. Because sometimes I cry. And then when I cry, I feel bad, and then I go home and I eat a lot. So there I am eating chocolate and bonbons and popcorn and some chips and stuff. And then I get fat, and I feel even worse. It's a vicious circle.
And then you lose your girlfriend.
And it's like a positive. And I lose my girlfriend. Now I'm single, now I'm fat, I'm crying, I'm spending money on chocolate and chips. I got bad heart disease, the high blood pressure, before you know it, all because you guys, and then now I die of a heart attack. You guys are killing me, that would kill me. I would die.
And then we shave your beard and you only you do the mustache.
You see how the positive correlation between you guys talking outside and me having a young and immediate death? If you care about me dying, you won't go outside and see
Mr. Vieira, have you ever like only shaved your beard and that's your mustache?
What?
Have you only shaved your beard and that's yourself for mustache?
Left yourself with
You're going to see in just a moment. All right, guys. What is happening to the population of bacteria? It is increasing, sure, but you know what? So is this. You can say this a lot. It's increasing. Sure, yeah, it's increasing. You could say it's growing.
doubling.
You could say it's, well, it started as, you can say it's growing slow at first, and then growing fast towards the end. You can say a lot of things. You can say the population grew to 500 in about 100 and, I don't know, 75 minutes. Is there a lot of ways to describe what's happening? Yeah. So can I tell you there's one way? No. But here we go, guys. The rate is the slope of the line. Look at the slope. 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 Is the slope the same?
No.
Or is it variable? Variable. If it were constant, it would look like this. Right? Growing at the same rate no matter what. What do we call this type of growth class?
Exponential.
Exponential. But we all know that's not how it works, right? We all know that growth grows exponentially at first, and then one of those 6 limiting factors, bam, causes it to kind of level off. What do we call this leveling off number?
Plateau.
Carrying capacity. It's the most that this place can carry. So what happens to the population growth after 110 years? Well, it starts to level off and reach carrying capacity. Seems like to me. Somebody tell me what is the carrying capacity. Somebody can read this graph. I'm going to call on somebody. Angie. Look at the graph right up here. $400 what? What is? Yeah, these are trees.
390.
For those of you who are like, what is Mr. Vieira talking about? Guys, look. This is where it levels off. Pop, 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 pop. Probably approximately.
It's a little bit under the 400.
Then 390 would work too. Approximately 400. What factors would affect the carrying capacity? We had 2 types of factors, did we not? If they get too crammed together, we have density dependent. Competition. Finally, I spelled competition right. My brain is turned off. Predation, right? A lot of herbivores going around eating the seeds, eating the plants. The closer they are together, if there's some sort of tree fungus or parasite, parasitism or disease. Now, there's also density independent. Now, what's the density independent things? Class. We, somebody said natural disasters. I heard them. What else?
Human destruction?
Yeah, human activity, human impact, whatever you want to call it. One last one that's similar to natural disasters, but it's kind of all year long.
Unusual weather.
Unusual weather, very good. Which one is affecting growths of populations right now in California? And has been for the last 5 to 20
Human
years?
activity.
Well, yes, for sure, absolutely.
Unusual weather. Oh, drought.
Yeah, unusual weather. All right, this would be like a drought. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So how did it get so high here and then drop? Well, it reached above the carrying capacity, and one of those 6 things must have kicked in. That's too many trees, not enough space, not enough resources, not enough water, right? Too many predators. Okay, take a minute. Are we ready for me to call on people with this one? Because I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm going to call on you guys. You guys must be able to read these graphs. Because there's going to be like 3 or 4 graphs on the test. So it's important. Talk to your neighbor. Predator prey on Isle Royale. This is in Canada, guys. So we have this moose and wolf population in this isle in Canada, and these are tracking both populations on the same graph. Now, since moose are in much larger numbers, use this left scale to show you the number of moose. Use this scale on the right to show you the number of wolves. Because we put both lines on the same graph to show correlation, but we didn't use the same scale because then the wolves would be like, "Ee," and then the moose would be much larger. So we had to use 2 different scales to show the trends. Because they're at different proportions. Why are there so much more moose than wolves based on principles of ecology? Why are there way more moose than wolves based on the principles of ecology? Yes, Gerard.
Because 10% of the energy gets transferred, so there needs to be like 10 times more moose to sustain the wolf population.
Good. What do we call those levels? What do we refer to each level as? A trophic level, an energy level, biomass, yeah. Is this counting them by biomass, by energy, or by number? By number. So if you did a numbers pyramid, you would use these. And obviously the trophic level of the moose, let's say that moose only ate plants, right? What would we call them? Herbivores. They'd be up, what type of consumer? Now if wolves, right, here in this case, carnivores, right? Now there are secondary and tertiary, they're top consumers. Because they can eat something that eats something that eats something. Are we ready for me to call on you? 7 questions? Be ready to get called on. Have something to say, talk to your neighbor. If you don't got it, look behind you.
I mean, not 1950, 1990.
All right. Katie Jeffries. What is the greatest moose population? Yeah, that's the moose population, but I'm not using this, I'm using this scale. It's about 2,500. Hazel Delgado. What year was this? Just give me like an estimate. It's kind of hard because there's not a lot of lines. Just give me a round. 1980 is right here. Right? That is the wolves. I'm talking about the moose. What year? If I want to find out the year, guys. About 1995. So I want to compare the two axes. Malia, what was the wolf population when the moose population was at its highest?
Like 18.
She says about 18. Yeah, I'd probably say about 17 or 18. What do you think would happen to the moose population if the wolf population goes down? Melissa Vargas.
Population would decrease.
Would what?
Population would decrease.
Decrease?
Yeah.
Okay, so if the wolf population, right, here's the wolf population. If it goes down, you're saying that the moose will go down with it?